mic is hot and I love it. Hey, what's up, crew? I'm Stephanie Garcia and welcome to Lights Camera Live. And let me ask you a question. Like, seriously, are you tired of chasing crumbs while your competitors feast? That stops now. Because today in this No Holds Barred talk, Vanessa Cabrera, Master NLP Business Coach, unleashes the unedited truth about her success. Because as we all know, success doesn't happen overnight. It's not about, the comeback. It's about coming back every single time harder and stronger and taking no, taking no not for an answer, right? So in this episode, we're going to be talking about how she closed $36,000 after our NLP training and waged war on mediocrity. I'm telling you, if you have not had your coffee today, if you need a second wind of energy, of motivation, this is the episode for you because she came out on top and now it's your turn. So having said that, Vanessa Cabrera, my dear, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm good. What's going on?
I'm excited to have you here. Not only that, though, but we've got the amazing, the wonderful India Delgado in the house. You're gotta love it. I love the female energy. And P.S. by the way, India Delgado is one of our captivators as well. So she's coming through for the next NLP practitioner. She is motivated, driven, all the things, fired up. And I know that, India, you're going to learn so much from Vanessa today. And not only that, but everyone in the Captivator crew. So having said that, Vanessa, introduce yourself to everyone because I know you as the badass boss, entrepreneur, and all the things. And you got to tell them. You got to tell them. Wind them up.
Wind them up, wind them up. What's up, guys? I'm super excited to be back here hanging with Garcia. My name is Vanessa Cabrera, and as Garcia said, I'm a master certified NLP business coach and an award-winning social media marketing strategist. And what I do is I help ambitious women entrepreneurs get the hell out of their own way so they can start making huge sums of money doing exactly what it is that they love to do.
I love that. I love how you say that. Like, even as ambitious women entrepreneurs, sometimes we have to get out of our own ways. And from one ambitious entrepreneur to another, like, I get you. You and I were just talking about how helpful it is to have women in our corner who can help call out our blind spots and say, hey, sis, don't dim your light. That's not what you were here to be put on this earth. You weren't here just to pay bills. You were here to do so much more. You were designed to do more. And I love that that's exactly what it is that you do with your clients.
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. All right. So when I first met Vanessa Cabrera, it was over at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. And it was what? Were we on a same panel? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. It's so funny. Every single time we tell the story, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were on this panel at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. Shout out to Perry who puts on that amazing event. And you know how it is on panels. You always get to introduce yourself and whatnot. And you get to feel out, vibe out who your other panelists are. And I got to tell you, when Vanessa stepped up to the mic, I was like, who is this woman? I need to know this woman. I need to get this vibe from this woman. What were you thinking that same day, too? Because I was like, I need to find her and get to know her.
Yeah. Well, first I stalked everyone on the panel, because that's what I do before I go to conferences. And yeah, we were on a panel talking about, surprise, surprise, live streaming. So I stalked you and I was like, yeah, I kind of dig her vibe. What is she all about, right? And so we were on the panel, and there's just some people in life that you just click with, and that was us.
That's
Since
right.
day one. Yeah.
I love it. And India says, yes, I'm pumped. Yeah, India, you're definitely a part of the crew. You're going to love this. So I remember that time when you had reached out and you're asking me, like, Stephanie, what is this NLP stuff? I hear you mention and talk about it with your clients and your workshops. What kind of sparked your interest? Because that's the part where I'm like, when did it click for you? When did you start to see the patterns?
Yeah. This is a funny story. I tell it a lot because people ask me, like, how did you, get introduced to NLP? How did you discover it? And I've always said, well, one of my colleagues who is also in the digital marketing industry, and her niche is live streaming, we met and we just clicked, and she, interviewed me live to her audience. I interviewed her live to my audience, all the things. And so I started following you. And then every once in a while you would drop NLP and I'm like, what is she smoking? What is this? Like, what is NLP? So I got curious and Googled it, as we do. And I found it really fascinating. But before going down that rabbit hole by myself, I was like, okay, Vanessa, take a step back and just reach out to Lou and see what this is really all about. And so that's what I did. I reached out to you and I'm like, psst, what is this NLP stuff? That's how it started.
And how do you feel about it now when people ask you? Because there are different ways to explain it. And I have my own way of saying it and how I implement it into my business, my workshops, and my keynotes. How about you? Because now you're putting it in your business. And
Mhm,
when you tell people, hey, I'm Vanessa Cabrera and I'm a certified master NLP business coach, they
mhm.
want to know, well, what's the difference that makes the difference? How does that actually reach my goals a lot faster? What do you usually
Yeah.
tell them?
So I normally say NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. And I normally say you can Google it or you could just ask me because that's exactly how I experienced it. And I have said when people ask me how I incorporate it into my business or what it's all about, is I always say it was the secret sauce that was missing, right? For me, meaning I could throw down on social media marketing strategy every day, all day. That's just how my mind works. When someone comes to me and they're telling me their struggles about landing clients online, all the things, and I ask a couple questions, I already have their campaign mapped out in my head, like, doo, 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 like that's just how my brain works. But what was missing for me is that mindset and the communication that goes with it. And so there's been many women I have helped, incredible badass women all these years who have done amazing things. But I knew that she could have just knocked it out of the park. Like, I mean, further. And I always questioned how else I could have reached her, what else I could have said, what could I have done to really push her to where I know she could have gone. And that's where it really started. So I just tell people it helps me understand my clients better, it helps me be a better communicator. But ultimately what really opened my mind on how I could implement this into my business coaching programs is the fact that I now understand how people take in information. And that's just like that's like the 101 beginning of it. And that's it. That's what's transformed my business. That's what's transformed my life, how I communicate with my colleagues, my family, my son. It's just been a complete game changer just in that snippet. So that's how I start explaining NLP. And then they're like, what?
It is fascinating to me because, to your point, you see so much potential in people and you're like, but what's stopping you? See, here's the
Yeah.
thing is that even as social media marketers, marketing can never fix a mindset. A mindset, you need to go on that journey and really start analyzing, your own audit of your values, your beliefs and attitudes. And to have someone like Vanessa who could really peel back the layers and be like, okay, for what purpose did you decide that, right? What would that do for you? How would that tie into your goal? Because you and I both know when the head and the heart are aligned, ooh, get out the way.
Oof.
We got this. We're,
That's where the magic happens.
that's where the
Yep.
magic happens.
Yep.
And when you see people and they come to you, and I imagine this happens to you all the time with your clients, they come to you and they're like, I don't know what I want. And you're like, how is that even possible? And I think it's sometimes people are so programmed by what other people are telling them that they should do, right?
Hmm.
Every day they take like a little, all right, here are my 2 pills of should that I should do and I should do.
Yeah.
And because they're shoulding on themselves so much, they don't know what it is that they want. And you help them through that because you and I work together and you're telling me that you do this really awesome, amazing thing before you do any work with clients. And that's the business breakthrough. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
What
That's my
is the business
favorite.
breakthrough?
What is a business breakthrough? So yeah, a lot of clients come to me and they're looking for, the strategy. It's all about the strategy. Like Vanessa, they're struggling on social media. They're doing all the things, live streaming, creating reels, being on social media 24/7, and it's just not working. And they're frustrated. They're exhausted. They hate social media. And then they come to me and they're like, it doesn't work. Right. So that's what people come to me for. And that's great. And absolutely there's strategy involved. But the difference that's going to make a difference is what is really holding you back from what you really want to say online, right? Everyone thinks that they should be doing all these things, like we've talked about, but the person that you are right now cannot be the same person that lands that $50,000 corporate contract, cannot be the same person that lands their first international speaking gig, right? There's got to be a shift, an internal shift that happens, that when you go through these business breakthroughs, meaning we get down to what's really holding you back, your limiting beliefs of why it can't be done, why it's got to be hard, the fears, is it going to work, it's not going to work, no one's going to buy, all these things. We get to the heart of that and demolish them. Like they're just not even a thing anymore, right? So
Not
then
even a thing.
imagine going through this business breakthrough process and then coming out on the other side having no fear, right? Those limiting beliefs are completely gone. And then we get into the strategy, a girl, bye. Like all my clients are like, when's the strategy session? I'm like, okay, take a minute.
But it's
I'm like,
like, for those of you that are watching that were ever into Dragon Ball Z, it's like Super Saiyan mode, right? It's just like, you are unleashed. If you're into like Wonder Woman, it's like, clang, clang, let's go, right?
yeah,
It's game time. And it's so powerful when you sit down with a client and you really have them just analyze. You gotta put those fears, those uncertainties, those doubts, and you have to put them in the interrogation chair and be like, for what purpose does that serve you? It may have helped you when you were younger. It may have helped you, early on in your career when you were starting your business. But now the belief of like having to build your business needs to be hard doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's
right.
not even a thing. You and I both have this shared belief that there are resources in relationships. And I think
Absolutely.
one of the best ways that NLP really helps you with these relationships is understanding those communication styles.
Hmm.
This was the part where I remember when we were teaching the different communication styles, the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, and the auditory digital. You had this,
Yeah.
Garcia, wait a second. Then we went on break, and you're like, I just looked at all my emails and I noticed that's where I need to go back and reach out. Can you share that a little bit about that?
Yeah. Like I said, that this is just the 101 of NLP training. But yeah, we went on a break, and man, when I understood that, I went back through some of the emails of those past clients that I was talking about where I'm like, I know she could have knocked it out of the park. What could I have done? And I went back, I was like, oh my gosh, she was visual. And I was treating her auditory or, whatnot. It just was such an aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't look at me. I'm like, I cannot wait to like disassemble my business model and my programs. And I knew exactly how it was going to go down in my brain. I just saw it. I'm like, this is it. This is what has been missing from my business programs to make the real difference of like, okay, I got it now. This is how I'm going to get her past that huge mountain where she's going to be like, how the hell did I get these business results? Like she's going to even have these mind blowing results that she didn't even know were possible. And so it was a huge, huge moment.
It's fascinating. One of the other things that we talk a lot about in our NLP training is a person's decision making strategy.
Hmm.
How often do we as entrepreneurs early on, when we were building our business, we put out the proposal and because there's this awkward silence, we feel like we have to fill in those gaps and we're like, no, 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 no. We know better.
Yeah.
Zip it, right?
Yes.
Zip it.
Yep. That's right.
Because people have to go through their decision making process. And I think even us as entrepreneurs, our mindset has to be bulletproof and knowing that, okay, this person, when they go through their decision, how many times do they have to cycle through it? Maybe they have to like reevaluate, check the price again. Did the price change? Has the market changed? Has this changed? How did you see that in helping your clients realize like what their decision making strategy is? Did you help them make decisions faster? Like how did you help your clients with that?
Yeah. When they go through this process, the business breakthrough process, it's pretty powerful stuff. And so throughout that process, and it happens in a day, by the way, which is something else that's amazing, they realize a lot about themselves. And so then we come back and we have a discussion about that. And they're like, I had no idea that's where it stemmed from, right? I didn't know any of that. And so some of the things that they pick up on their own, and some of the things I tell them, I'm like, okay, well, do you know what your decision making strategy is? Or do you know, how you make buying decisions, all the things? And they're like, no. I'm like, would you like me to tell you? And they're like, yes. And then how do I know how people make these decisions?
Yeah. It's like,
So some of the realizations, they come, you know, onto oneself where they get it. And if need be, if it's necessary in the process and then the strategy of my business coaching program, then we'll talk about it. It just depends. Everyone's different.
yeah, everyone's different. And I think that's what's always helpful is because when you hear all these other gurus or marketers, they give you one template and they say, this is the way. Because
Yeah.
that's what worked for them. And that's most likely
Right.
because they attracted the clients that had the same communication style and decision making strategy that they did.
Hmm.
And what you and I just talked about is there's visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and auditory digital. There's 4 communication styles. And unless you are being flexible and knowing how to communicate with all of those styles, you
Hmm.
might actually be limiting your potential for how much you could actually grow. And so you help them with that. I love that.
Yeah, for
Shout out
sure.
to India who says the awkward pregnant pause. I'm going to let that sink in.
I love it. Let that
You
let
know,
that merge. Let
yeah,
that
that's the bridge
simmer.
right there. You know, what I will say is that even as live streamers, what's super helpful is the mute button. Like we know where to push the mute button. So that way, even if we just need to exhale for a quick second, because like we just said it, right? We mute the mic and that really helps out. But also there's this one NLP technique that we talk a lot about and it's anchoring. And recently you put this on your Facebook business page. You're like, you got to anchor this feeling. And I was like, first of all, I love master NLP practitioner, business coach, that you are using that language because you use it so well. And you're like, anchor that feeling. What does that mean specifically for those that are like, because someone had said that to you. They said, Vanessa, anchor that. You're like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So what's interesting is my past sales coach, because I have other coaches, I am not afraid to invest in my own business growth and learning new things. She has said that. And so I don't think she's NLP certified necessarily. But when I was going through training, I was like, oh gosh, that's how she was trying to reach me. Right. Because she had said it a couple times. And I think it just comes to her intuitively. And she definitely knows NLP. So as I was learning this, I was like, she was trying to reach me, right? She was trying to reach me and figure out what was holding me back, all the things. And so I do use that language within my social media, within my copy, within my content, all the things, and let it just work its magic. It may hit, it may not, right? But I know exactly who I'm trying to reach, and I know it works for those who I'm trying to reach. So
I love that. See, anchoring is such an important piece, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because we often have to move from one project to the other, right? It's like working on this client, working on this keynote, all the things, and then we just keep moving on it. But oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we don't take a moment to celebrate what we've accomplished. Like, look, listen, we're in Q4, right? Everything that you've done in Q1 all the way to Q3, did you celebrate those experiences? And I think the beauty behind anchoring is, can you think back to a time when you were confident? And as you go back to that time, float down into your body, see what you saw, feel what you heard, and really feel the feelings of being confident, right? And you bring that out. It's that super saiyan that comes out with your client. And I feel like that's what you have to tap into. So once you let go of those limiting beliefs, that fear, that uncertainty, that doubt, then you have to create this new strategy for them. And anchoring is one of those. And so when you work with your clients, is it motivation? Is it confidence? Is it powerful? Is it badass? Like what, if you do anchoring with your clients, what is that like emotional glue that you stick them to?
it's all the things, but it's what they need when they need it in that moment. Like I said, everyone's different. This my program ain't cookie cutter. It's a different experience for every single woman that's gone through it. We absolutely do anchoring for what it is they need, either confidence or motivation, focus, all the things. And yeah, I mean, I do anchor on them when they don't even know I'm anchoring on them. I'm using my NLP powers for good, but this is how I serve my clients. It's such on a deeper level, Garcia, that than I was coaching before. And I'll be honest with you and our audiences, before I felt like a rah rah coach, a coach that just was like, you can do it. And, all that, that's just not going to work. It just doesn't work. And I knew that internally. I didn't know I knew that, but that something was missing. It just, I'm like, there's something missing. And now I coach very differently, and it's on a deep unconscious level. Like, people have asked me, they're like, so do you hypnotize your clients to succeed? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I was just kidding. I'm like, no, I'm for real. Yeah,
Oh,
I
for
go
real, for
deep.
real.
I go deep, deep with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do anchoring. We do
Let's talk
all the
about that,
things.
because I feel like some people are like, oh, you hypnotize people. And really, hypnotherapy is really guiding your client towards what it is that they really want. I mean, oftentimes we think about, like, how many times do you talk yourself into an idea and then immediately talk yourself out?
Yeah.
It's rewiring that internal talk track. Look, listen, everyone is now messing around with AI and overdubbing their voices. We have just been using hypnotherapy to overdub the negative talk track that you have in your head. And we figure out where it's coming from, where it stems from. And as Vanessa says so eloquently, we demolish it.
Yeah. I
it
demolish it.
it's like
Peace.
there is no reason for us to play that old negative talk track again. Break the
It
record.
doesn't exist.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
It,
exist.
it
Delete it.
just doesn't exist anymore. Mhm.
Yeah. Oftentimes we'll always update like our new phones, but really we have to update the programming that's in our mind. And this is exactly what you do even in your implementer program. But before we get into that, let's talk about how you were able to close that $36,000 a month, because this is the part that I got really excited and I was like, Vanessa, this is game changer, and this is Vanessa 2.0. Let's go.
Yeah. So very similar to after I took prac, NLP prac, which is, just like 101, the first training. And I learned all the things. I came back and I took a step back and completely remodeled and did a brand new business model for my business that now made complete sense to me. As I said, I'm like, I know exactly how I'm going to use this, right? And I reformatted my program, the experience. I knew exactly how I was going to take them. It just aligned, right? And so after prac, my business took off. Like, it just started to take off because I became a better coach and I became a better communicator, and my clients were getting crazy results. So then it would turn to master prac, which was a year later. I didn't take it that same year. I'm like, nope, I got what I need. Let me see what I could do with this bad boy, with this information, and go from there. Then I took Master Prac a year later because the training's no joke. And when I devote something, I'm all in. So I knew I needed time. And after going through Master Prac, I did the same thing. I'm like, I came back, completely created, redesigned my business model to make room for now this information that I know, recreated the implementer and made it better. So the implementer is my business coaching program or experience that I've been running for 3 years, but I make it better and better and better, right? And so when I became a master practitioner in NLP, timeline therapy, and hypnosis, I started to put it out there, and it just was easy. Like, the people who were called to work with me, they just came. And this is what I try to explain to people when it comes to social media and prospects who want to work with me, or even corporations. I'm like, listen, when it's like you said, Lou, when your heart and your mind work together, that's when the magic happens. It just opens up. It's easy, right? And so I started to put myself out there. I was communicating differently because I was a different person, because I too went through a business breakthrough, and I was no longer Vanessa 1.0. I was now Vanessa 3.0 in MasterPrac, to be honest, right? And so they started coming. I landed 2 private clients and a corporate contract, like that.
I have goosebumps for you. This is the part where I get so excited because people will always think that, it's just one more free challenge, one more free template, and that'll be the difference that makes a difference. And it's not. At the end of the day, how you communicate and how you motivate your clients and how you understand their decision-making strategy, that's the difference that makes a difference. And oftentimes it's really untangling all the things that are holding them back, because sometimes their mindset could be a quicksand. Like if you're not there to pull them out every single time, right? They have to learn on their own sometimes. Like, okay, I'm about to go on stage. What is this technique that Vanessa taught me? Oh, anchoring, stacked anchors, get on that stage and crush it. And so it's exciting for me to hear how when you say implement, you literally implement. You're like, I'm going to take this information because we all understand and we all know that success leaves clues. These are the clues. Now I put them together. And I love it when you do this. You go, you put them together. You're like, there's the plan. That's the strategy. That's what I'm going to do. And it's custom tailored to you. And then you do the same exact process for your clients. You do a business breakthrough, because oftentimes we don't realize that there are things that are holding us back that touches all areas and all aspects of our life. Fear of abandonment, fear of poverty, fear of success is even a real thing, because if you're successful and in your tribe and in your circle, they say like, oh, now you think you're better than us. Some people have a mindset that, okay, well then it's better for me just to stay in my lane and stay in my box. And this is where Vanessa and I are like, you were designed to do more. Yeah. You are meant for more. And we're going to get you there. So this implementer program that you have, I want to share it here on the screen because first of all, I love your site. And so you say it here. I love it. You go, you were meant for more. You heard the calling coming from deep within, and it's time to answer that call. And here's the other great things about it. You highlight the major successes of your clients. So this particular client, she landed a $396,000 consulting contract after working with you. Like, come on, tell me about this.
She has her own client case study, but same thing. It's the same process that I went through. So essentially, and this is what I tell all my coaches who work with me, is that you need to go through your own program. You need to go through your own experience in order to really market it the way that you want to market it authentically. Because if you're just taking a template or whatnot, it's not going to work. So I had to go through my own program, right? And so now we're talking about it and what's come out of it. And the same thing with her. So they were expecting strategy and, content creation for the next 6 months. No, boo, that's not even remotely how I roll, right? Yeah. So first is you have to have a business breakthrough. And to figure out what is really holding you back. And it's funny now that people are, somewhat aware of what I do. They're like, well, I think it's this. I know, it was taught to me that, a penny earned is a penny saved. And so I'm a saver and I don't want to let go of money and this and that. And I just listen and I'm like, okay, we'll see. Right. And so the same thing, she went through, she had her business breakthrough and just came out a completely different person, because again, the Mary Jo Mullen, that's her name, that started working with me cannot be the same MJ that landed this $400,000 consulting contract. If that were the case, she would have done it already, right? So she went through her business breakthrough. We annihilated all that BS internal talk of why it can't work, the fears, self-doubts, limiting beliefs. And so imagine what would happen if you go through this process, right? And then I hand you your strategy, which is the easy part. That's a fun part for me. That's the easy part. Like, that's the fun part for me. And she's like, okay, right? And I'm like, okay, now go implement it. She's in beast mode, right? My clients are in beast mode and they're focused and they know exactly what it is that they want. They know exactly how they're going to get it. They start implementing and just like magic, boom, the $400,000 consulting contract comes.
You keep saying this one thing where it's like, who she was then cannot be who she wants to be in the future, because that requires a different level of mindset, strategy, habits, right? And there are it's rewiring their brain for success. Mm-hmm. That's right. Oftentimes I tell people, where you are at today, it's the sum total of your conscious and unconscious programming. That's how you got to where you are today.
Hmm.
And when people start thinking about what's possible in their future, they can't make their decisions based off of what happened in the past, because what happened in the past, that's your limited experience. You didn't have the resources. You didn't know Vanessa then. You didn't know Stephanie then. You didn't know about NLP, hypnotherapy, or timeline therapy. But now there's this opportunity for you to learn it. And so you have to start making decisions for your future self where they're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's exactly what I needed to do. Not
Yeah.
making decisions based off of what hurt me in the past, whether it was like, oh my gosh, I was embarrassed in the third grade speaking up for my book club, right? Like that embarrassment cannot help you if you want to build a freaking empire. You know,
Hmm.
you have to adopt that mindset and annihilate all the things, interrogate it, and build new practices and processes. So, Vanessa, if I were to ask you, if there was anyone just on the fence, right? Just on the fence of like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking and thinking. What would
Hmm.
you say? How would you help them like just make the decision now, to act now?
I usually say, how much longer are you going to wait? Right? How long has it taken you to get here? Right? When would now be a good time to finally do something about it? Because the one thing I know is that the resource that's limited to all of us is time, right? It is limited. So I have now learned to make quick decisions. So the faster you make a decision, move forward with it, you're going to look back and be like, oh man, I wish I would have sooner. I've heard it time and time again. So if you're on the fence, I'm like, how much longer are you going to wait?
I love it. I love it. When would now be a good time? That's always my favorite thing, because even if you're thinking now, now has already passed. Because when
Hmm.
you thought of the word now, just for that to transfer over to your lips, for that to then come out of my mouth and then go over the internet and go to your phone, your smartphone, or your desktop, now has already passed. So every time you spend thinking about it, now has already passed, now has already passed. And you have to just take a leap and go for it. Shout out
Hmm.
to this one user that we have, is probably in one of our Facebook groups, says, you always bring on the best people in the best content. I'm telling you, here's the thing. When an eagle is flying high in the sky, you're flying high because you're flying with other eagles, other people that want to soar. If you notice that, like, oh my gosh, there's a pigeon that's here, that means you're flying too low. And that's when I know, as a captivator, we go high, right? And it's like, we go to events, we seek out other people. We look at them and we say, like, what do you say to yourself in the morning to get you motivated? You know, how are you
Yeah.
entering into Q4? What's your strategy? And successful people will always tell you clues. Some people, 2024 is already in our timeline. I don't know how it is for you, but 2024 is already in my
Oh, yeah.
timeline. I already see it. So successful people are already planning out what their 2024 is going to look like, whereas some people are just like, I'm just trying to plan out my day. And so it's understanding how to motivate those people that are super helpful. Vanessa, is there anything else that you want to share with the crew? Because honestly, you are one of the most badass captivators, and I've seen you just flourish. You're knocking it out of the park. You've got workshops, you've got consulting, you're speaking on stages nonstop, and now you've got this amazing implementer program. Like, what else would you want to tell folks just about your NLP training and anything else that you're doing?
I would just say just reach out. A lot of people are afraid to reach out or to ask for help. And I've learned many lessons over the past 10 years. I will be in business, y'all, for myself for 12 years come January. That's insane. And I've learned many things in that time. But one of the biggest lessons I have learned is not asking for help, thinking that you can figure this out on your own. And that's just not how multimillionaires roll. Every single successful person I have ever worked with either collaborated, they've been my client, I've been their client, right? They have had help along the way, whether a consultant, a coach, a mentor, someone to help them get to where they want to be. And that's really the only way you're going to get there faster. I can't tell you how long well, I can tell you, I struggled for 4 years, 4 years completely alone, thinking I had to figure it out, thinking that this is the dues I had to pay. I have to struggle when you first start a business. And like Garcia would say, when did you decide that? Right? That was downloaded into my head. I don't know when. I don't think like that anymore. So my biggest advice would be to just start and ask for the help that you know that you need if you're looking for these results, because time waits for no one, right? Then 24 is going to roll around, then 25 is going to roll around, and you're still going to be stuck when help is available.
I love that. When did you decide that? That's total merch there. I always ask people that. Well, when did you decide that? You
When
know?
did you decide that?
And
And
it
they're
doesn't
like, oh,
necessarily have to be
dang.
like a bad thing, right? It's like, well, I want to be a multimillionaire. Great. When did you decide that? Cool. Keep going with it. You know?
Hmm.
Shout out to Gary Ware, who is tuning in on YouTube, and he says, great episode. Thanks for bringing the fire, and congrats on 12 years, Vanessa.
Hey, Gary, thank you.
Super excited for you. We also got India Delgado says, true story. I'm so grateful that I have Stephanie in my corner and in the NLP program. Every time we meet, she blows me away. I didn't read that in advance. That was cool. You gave me goosebumps. Anchor that. That's a good feeling. And so, hey, look, listen, if you're looking for an amazing master business NLP coach to help you, go hang out with Vanessa. She'll get you started on the right way, and she'll get you on that fast track. If you love her vibe, you love her energy, I mean, just listen to her, feel her out. She's going to guide you in all the different things. If you're finally that person that says, hey, I want to learn how to be NLP certified, and I want to learn all the things, I want to download and analyze what's going on with my habits, my patterns, and all these other things because you decided today you were designed for more, then hit me up. There's a link in there. You can find it, do all the things. Slide into the DMs too. Vanessa and I are probably one of the most two down-to-earth gals in the world. I
We
feel like we've
really
been
are.
through it.
Yeah, we've been through it. I hear a lot. They're like, well, Vanessa, you're intimidating. But then after they start working with me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're like a teddy bear. I'm like, I know. I don't know. I guess I give off that vibe, but like, I'm, harmless, I promise. But I will
No,
make you
I
work. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think really what it is, because I mean I feel like I'm also in that same boat with you too. People are like, Stephanie, you're so serious, and it's like it's not that I'm super serious. It's that I have this belief that to be a successful business coach, you have to believe bigger than your client, and you have
Oh,
to be that person that swats away at every fear, uncertainty, doubt, whatever comes in, and you're like, I'm sorry. I didn't invite fear, uncertainty, and doubt into this conference call. How did they get in there? Boop, take that out.
no, no, ma'am.
No, ma'am, not today. We're not doing that today. We're done with that.
Yeah.
And so if you're tired of being underrated, underpaid, this is your time. This is now. It's October 2nd. You've got a couple of more months left until the year is over. So you can decide when things hit the fan, or you're like, you know what? I'm going to be proactive because I know this one for sure is definitely going to take care of you. Cool. All right, Vanessa, thank you so much for your time. You're absolutely amazing. And having said that, we'll say peace out to the crew for now. All right. Thank you so much.